Hi, I'm Ashley Hammond.
And I'm Locke Hammond.
We're married.
We run a business together.
And we homeschool our 4 kids.
That makes us sound a little crazy.
I think people might think we're a little crazy.
Well, through all that crazy, we're here to help you blaze your own trail through a world designed for conformity.
And break the chains holding you back from living an uncommon life.
This is Trailblazers and Chainbreakers. So I'm very excited about today's show. We have a special guest with us. She's an intuitive healer and a process coach. Linda Charles graduated from San Francisco State University in 1968 with a degree in psychology and has been a lifelong student of healing modalities, including Gestalt theory, process coaching, internal family systems, and compassionate inquiry. Some say that what Linda does with them is magic, and in many ways it is. There's an alchemy that happens when parts of us that were traumatized are retrieved from their exile. Linda's goal is to unburden the wounded parts and restore a healthy internal system that is coordinated by the true self. She does this with compassion, safety, and curiosity, helping people tap into the roots of patterns that may not be serving them. Ashley has worked closely with Linda for quite some time. She's helped her with some inner child work, finding and learning to trust her intuition, deep childhood trauma, and so much more. It's really a pleasure and an honor to have you on the show with us, Linda. Thank you.
Thank you, Locke and Ashley. I'm just really honored to be here.
I'm glad you're with us. There's something on the website, on your website, that really jumped out at me. Somewhere in your bio on your website, it says, at a time when there's more uncertainty than ever before, it's paradoxically the most opportune moment that humanity has ever had to wake up. And I was hoping you could tell us, what does it mean to wake up?
Oh my gosh, waking up. I remember that song in the 60s, waking up is hard, or breaking up is hard to do. You know, there's so many ways of looking at waking up. And it's used a lot on social media. You know, woke. I'm woke. Yeah. You're not woke. Wake up. I look at it, you know, kind of like from one frame, there's this kind of like wake up from the Matrix, you know, the red pill, the blue pill, which one do you want to take? And the, you know, deep state and the control and the sheep being led around and not being aware of it. And there's a lot of people that go there, you know, it's just like, there's a lot of anger that comes up around that. Wake up, you know, like, where's your sovereignty, person? Where are you? Do you know what's going on? Like, do you see that? Yeah, I mean, that's happening. It's happening everywhere. It's happening over the vaccine. It's happening over government. It's happening over COVID. Oh my gosh, you know, you name it. So that's what I meant when I said this time of all this stuff that's going on, all these triggers, all these opinions and beliefs and so on. And yes, paradoxically, it is the best time because, you know, and Ashley knows this. I mean, it's just like, what would we do without our triggers? Like, honestly, what would we do? Seriously. If we didn't have something to instigate our being pissed off, how would we know that we have stuff to work on? So it's just kind of a setup. And so, you know, when you think about waking up, it's like, do we dream? Yeah, we dream every night or every other night. And we wake up, right? And then we realize, oh shit, that was a dream. Oh my God, was I in that or not? Like, whew, you know, like there was this alligator who's going to swallow me up and eat my legs. And wow, it was terrifying. And in the dream, it's like so real. It's just like so real. But when you wake up, it's just like, oh, that was a dream. I was dreaming. So it wasn't really happening, but I dreamed it. So on some level, it was happening. And I look at waking up from the dream as recognizing that anything that we're experiencing could be looked at as a dream. And, you know, like one has to ask the question, I believe it's worthwhile. How do I know it's true?
It's a good question.
It's a very good question.
That's a Byron Katie question in her inquiry. You know, like, do you know that to be true? how do you know that that's to be true? And how would you be if you didn't believe that is true? And to a large extent, that's what the work is all about, is uncovering those unconscious beliefs that get us triggered. Like if you take the vaccine, for example, I mean, there's so much turmoil about it on both sides. And what I've noticed in myself is that it really triggers me. Okay. I just got to be right out front there. It's just like, are you serious? Like you are going to tell me I have to do this thing and you don't even know if it's the right thing to do, but you want me to believe it's the right thing to do. And in fact, I don't know what your motivations are for wanting me to do this. I'm a very curious person. So I'm one of those people, I want to know why I'm having such an extreme reaction to that. What is it about that makes me so upset? And, like what I've noticed, and that this is part of waking up, is the process of remembering how it was for me when I was little. And they had to tie me down in order to give me a shot. And I was screaming. And a lollipop didn't cut the mustard. I was like, oh no, that lollipop is not going to make me want to like this. I do not like this. And you are forcing me down and you are making me do this. And I am trying very hard and I'm totally helpless to do anything about it. And so all that, waking up to that underpinnings of why I'm so pissed off about that is really important work for me, because I'm just so curious about that. I can't just, like I have a trigger about authority and not trusting authority, right? Because all of those memories about being forced to do things I didn't want to do by people who I don't think understood me. They didn't get me. They didn't treat me right. You don't treat kids that way.
Those are all very great points, Linda.
When I see the term waking up, or woke, if you want to, I don't like using the term woke. I think it's been bastardized. But
yeah.
When I see the term waking up, I kind of think about it in two different aspects. And I'm curious about your take on this. In one sense, it's the inner work of myself, waking up to know myself, to understand myself. You talked a little bit about that, the childhood pieces that are manifesting in my adult life. I also think about it as waking up to the reality of the world. And for some reason in my head, those are two separate things. Do you see them as two separate things, or do you see them connected so that if you're waking up in one way, you're going to start to see yourself waking up in another way? Are they separate things? Are they connected? What's your take on that?
My response to that is that they're connected, because the world it's not so much what happens in the world, but it's my reaction to what happens in the world. It's like a big hall of mirrors. Ashley and I have talked about the movies metaphor before. It's kind of like, so if you use this example, so like a dog walks into a room covered with mirrors from the ceiling and all the sides and the floor. If it's a puppy, the puppy probably walks into the room and just like, woohoo, puppies, puppies play, wags its tail, and all these other tails are wagging and, like all these happy puppies to play with. You take an older dog who's been abused, maybe a dog that's, been abused by other dogs or whatever. And right away, what they see is growling, snarling, really aggressive looking other dogs out for a fight. And that, it's like, that dog doesn't know. We don't know. We're in a hall of mirrors. We don't know. What we see is based on what we've experienced in our life and what we believe. I believe that we're all little puppies at heart, but life happens, shit happens. Our parents don't feel us. Our parents don't do what you guys do with your kids. They didn't do that. They don't hold like you hold your kids. You listen to them. You have compassion for them. You don't judge them necessarily as bad or wrong. You're doing it different. You're a whole new generation of how to love your kids, how to hold them, how to make safety for them. the world's not set up that way. It hasn't been. But you guys are, changing things.
Thank you.
Trying to.
We try.
You're breaking the chains.
How do you know when something is a gut feeling or something else?
I mean, have you ever just felt something and you just knew it and you didn't know why you knew it, but you just knew that you knew? And there wasn't any drama in it. There was no drama in it. None, zip. There was no fear. There was no blah. Okay, that's it right there. You just know what you know. And when it's not, when, there's a way of second guessing that and just saying, because there's a part of you that can't possibly. But a gut feeling has no emotion to it. You can feel it in the body. It's just a knowing. It's just this like matter of fact kind of thing. It just kind of floats by and you just get it. And this may be a stupid example, but I had this leaf blower. And just before I plugged it in, this one time when I was using it, I just had this fleeting thought. I wonder if it's grounded right. And it didn't scare me or anything. It was just like this. I wonder if it's grounded right. Well, apparently it wasn't because I got a shock. So it's that it's that sort of imperceptible kind of still small voice, I guess you could say, that is, it takes some practice to hear it sometimes for most of us, because I think we all have that gut feeling of knowing, intuition, whatever you want to call it. But it takes some honing, just like anything else.
So many people are intuitive and so many people have gut feelings, but we've been taught by the world around us or our parents or our teachers to not trust that feeling. How do you relearn how to trust that feeling?
That's a really good question, Ashley. First of all, going back to the beginning of what you said, it takes not recognizing it and then having something happen and you wish you had.
Yeah.
That's the best way to know. Like, oh man, like I knew it.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have done that. So next time, maybe, it takes a little bit of time to just coming into that realization and just spotting yourself, wishing you had is a simple answer.
The pain of not listening when you should have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But unfortunately, like that's how we learn. Jeez, like we're in it. We get in it. We step in it. And it's just like, oh my God.
Next time you'll make sure that leaf blower is grounded.
Yeah. Like, duh.
Another phrase from your website that jumped out to me that I wanted to ask you a question about. This is a slightly, I don't want to say selfish question, but a question that I've had in my head for a long time. And one of the phrases that you had on your website is that your coaching comes from a place of compassion, safety, and curiosity. The piece that jumped out to me was the safety part. And I guess it's a two-part question. And I kind of already know the answer to the first part, but when somebody is going through the healing journey, when you're working with someone, why is the safety so important? And then the second part of that is, from my perspective, having been in this position with Ashley, how does, whether it's a friend, a spouse, a loved one, a family member, how does someone give safety to someone they love who is trying to heal through, whether it's trauma or whether it's just doing inner work? Why is that safety important? And how does someone on the outside of that give safety to someone on that journey?
That's a super good question. When you think about safety and holding, I think about like holding space for somebody's journey. It may be rough. Somebody on a healing journey, it's kind of like having a baby. There's a lot of contractions, there's a lot of like, owie stuff, that comes up. A lot of times that owie can make you feel self-conscious, like, or bad, or like, I shouldn't feel that way, or what's wrong with me? Like I'm not dilating enough, this baby's not going to come out, it's just like, like it hurt. Who would you want your midwife to be? Would you want them to be somebody to just say, no, 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 let go. You're not letting go well. Stop. You're just doing it all wrong. Oh my God. This baby's getting, or would you want somebody to just say, I know, I hear you. It's hard. I feel you. I'm so sorry. What do you want? How can I help you? Because that person's going to know, like you're not necessarily going to know, you're going to imagine, but if you don't ask, you're not going to know. Like, do you want me to leave you alone? Do you need space? Do you want me to hold you? Do you just want me to be quiet and just sit over here? When someone's going through birth or any healing journey of any kind, they know what they need. They know what they need more than anything. And if it's not safe to be who they are and scream and yell and swear without being judged, if it's not okay, if they don't feel like they can just be authentic and real, nothing's going to move. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to shift. You've got to have that. There's this guy in psychology, Maslow, and he talked about basic needs, the hierarchy of needs. And the very first need is safety. You've got to know that you're okay, that you will be okay. You've got to have somebody holding you and saying, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I'm here. I'm not going to leave you. I will not abandon you. I will be here. That's what you do with your kids, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how to be safe with somebody, how to be safe. And I know you're like that. So.
Yeah, I try to be, and we try to be with our kids. Doing that with our kids has made a huge difference for me. It's really hard for me to sit through a screaming kind of fear-based temper tantrum. As an example, when Ashley went out the other day, one of our kids lost her mind, was screaming, freaking out. And I've always struggled with that. But once when I see her in that place, telling her that she's safe, it's okay, mommy's coming back, and repeating you're safe, those two words, you're safe, or I guess 3 words, have made a huge difference. So I know it's important. And the question kind of comes from, in my experience, I try to be able to say those things to Ashley or to our kids, but there are times when my own crap comes up and I'm in my own spiral, and I already know the answer is that that's a warning sign to me to work on my crap. Right.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
That's the place where I struggle, is when something triggers me, and it's hard to kind of cram that back down and be a safe space.
Yeah, it is. And it's okay to be authentic around that and just say, wow, this is bringing up something for me. It's not your fault. It's just like, I just need to breathe into this for a second. To be real with it and like, whew. Yeah, I'm sure you say that to your kids, like daddy needs a timeout. Wow. Like, whoa, you are really feeling a lot here. Wow. I feel you. It's really affecting me. And we just just breathe for a second. Let's just breathe. And that's so real. That is so real. And it takes a lot of presence to be able to do that and hold, space for yourself and them, and just admit it. Like, wow, this has got mommy really, whew, or daddy. Wow. Let me take a second so I can be here more for you. It's not fair to you when I'm kind of in my own thing around this. Authenticity. The kid's going to know when you're not authentic, right?
Oh, yeah.
So is your wife or partner. It's like, don't placate me. Okay, please.
Linda, when we worked together, you mentioned the iceberg metaphor. Tell us about that, because I find that extremely interesting.
So the iceberg metaphor represents the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. So, imagine what an iceberg looks like. There's this little part of the iceberg above the waterline, small part of it, because the iceberg is like huge. There's so much more under the waterline than we know. So imagine the tip of the iceberg is what you're conscious of. And normally You go through life, you're composed, you're fine, go about your day. So there's the you that's an adult that's sitting at the top of the iceberg and doing your thing. And then something happens. Something happens in your life. Somebody cuts you off from traffic. And suddenly that trigger, it goes kind of like at an angle. It comes in right down under the waterline into the unconscious mind. So what happens, we call that a trigger. Something happens. And the adult that's been sitting in the top of the iceberg, suddenly with that trigger, you get cut off from traffic and you could have a number of reactions. But first reaction is probably going to be terror. I almost just died. And then because there's so much unconscious material underneath the iceberg, memories of trauma as a child, all these things that we're not conscious of at all, that we don't even remember probably half the time. And so what happens then is the child that probably was triggered, because no trigger is about what's going on in a moment. Flat ass, that's the way it is. There is no trigger that is about what's going on right now. Somebody just cut me off. Yeah. But what's being triggered, that trigger that's aimed into the unconscious is going to bring up some feeling of, maybe anger, like, how dare they? Don't they care about other people? Like that stupid, like out of control person. And so what happens is that belief just shoots straight up into the top of the iceberg, knocks the grown up off the chair. And now you've got the kid or the memory, that child, that memory is sitting in that chair now, reacting through that, acting out. Maybe it's anger. So you cut them off in traffic again. You just barge in front of them. Maybe you want vengeance. Maybe you lay on the horn, but your reaction is going to be about those unconscious memories that you weren't able to do anything about, that you were powerless to change when you were growing up. So that's what the iceberg metaphor is all about. And so when we talk about draining the swamp, we're basically talking about being curious, because there's like two kinds of people. I think there's a type of person that's just like ready to sweep whatever happened under the rug. I had a grandma that was like that. She had a lot of just really hardships growing up, and she didn't go get into it. She wasn't curious about it. She goes, "Oh, let it go, let it go, let it go. This is a new day." But then there's this other type that's like really curious. It's like, what just happened there? And it's that type that this work is great for. Is a lot of tools to help you drain the swamp and get out from underneath those old patterns that have been, those old beliefs that have been driving your world and how you react. Have you ever like had this reaction over and over again, being when you're cut off and you're just like, oh gosh, I wish I didn't react like that. That could really get me into trouble, but you can't stop. It's like compulsive. It's a pattern. It just keeps happening over and over again in different ways. And until we get to that place where, with help, from someone who can help you just say, when was the first time you felt that rage? Where do you feel that in your body, that rage? Oh God, yeah, like blah, 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 blah. Okay. Then you have memories. And you're able to bring some compassion in for that part of you that was helpless to do anything at the time. So you just bring love that you didn't get maybe from your caregivers who didn't get you at the time. They didn't feel you. They didn't get you. They didn't provide the safety for you to tell them why you were upset.
Do you think there can be, because you said there's two types of people, do you think there could be the type of person that usually sweeps things under the rug and also is curious? Like they kind of go back and forth. They sweep things under the rugs, but then there's that curiosity that sparks where they're like, I wonder why I'm feeling this way.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they really want to know, but sometimes they also just want to sweep it under the rug.
Yeah. It's like, it is a continuum, it's not just black and white. And, like in myself, like I feel like there have been times where I have just swept it under the rug, even though I'm like a super curious person. I didn't want to deal with it. I knew there was some stuff underneath there, but like I didn't have the bad bandwidth at the moment to work on it. I just wanted to let it, I just wanted to do something else, like eat, for example.
Yeah.
Just needed a break.
I hear that.
Like, neat. Or, like this is where addictions work really, really good. It's just like they give you a break. They're a way to not have to feel the intensity of what's going on. And I can easily go there to that place of, eventually I'll get into the curiosity, but yeah, good point, Ashley. There's a continuum.
So in your explanation of the iceberg metaphor, you mentioned triggers, getting triggered. From my understanding, we're going to do a little bit of a demo with
Sure.
Are you up for that, Linda?
Absolutely. I'm always up for that.
All right. Well, take it away.
I was looking at my list of triggers and I was like, I don't know which one I want to work with. I know that there's two that still happen. Big messes, like coming downstairs especially, or coming home to a large mess. And also like constant loud noise. I'm going to go with the mess because that one bothers me more. It's like, it makes me feel anxious in my whole body and then angry and then like out of control.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. So let's go with that. The mess, the big mess, and how that produces all that anxiety for you. So, okay. So think about the last time you came in the house or came downstairs and saw a big mess. Just find that most recent. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
As you recall your reaction and you just let yourself feel that in your body, where do you imagine you feeling that in your body, like right now, as you recall it, walking into the room and seeing that?
It's always in my stomach.
It's always in your stomach. So you feel it there right now?
Mm-hmm.
So what does the energy in your stomach feel like right now when you recall that? What are the sensations of that?
Tight and warm.
Tight and warm. Good. So just allow yourself to just drop into the stomach and just explore and feel and hold space, make a lot of space for the tight and warm. Just breathe into it and just make a lot of space for that tight and warm. And if that tight and warm had words and it could speak, what would it say?
This house is a mess.
This house is a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And is that the way you're feeling it? This house is a mess, or are you feeling it with some anger, or what comes up there? What's the emotion?
I'm out of control.
I'm out of control. When was the first time you can recall feeling that feeling of being out of control? How old is that feeling?
Probably like 3 or 4.
Do you have a sense of what was going on? I mean, you don't have to say it, but do you have a sense of what was going on?
Yeah.
At the time? Okay. So can you see that part of you, that 3 or 4-year-old, that little Ashley?
Yeah.
And telepathic communication. Let yourself hold space for what's going on with her, what she's feeling about being out of control. And you can, if you like, let her see you there, or heal her from the future. There's her grown-up Ashley here to be with her. And just notice how she feels about herself being out of control.
Scared.
Yeah. And just notice if she has a judgment about being scared. Is it okay to be scared? To be out of control?
It doesn't feel okay.
Yeah. So what's the judgment that comes up for her? I'm bad because?
I'm scared.
I'm bad because I'm scared. Yeah. Well, would you like to release that judgment for her?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So just repeat after me, just coming back into that solar plexus feeling of heat. And repeat after me on behalf of her. I release the judgment
I release the judgment
that I'm bad
that I'm bad
because I'm scared.
because I'm scared.
I'm just letting that settle in. And I release the judgment
And I release the judgment
that being scared
that being scared
is bad or wrong.
is bad or wrong.
Yeah, it was happening. It was scary. And just let her feel what she's feeling and letting her be okay with that. And as you can see her and her grown up there, just go ahead and step into her and look over there and see there's your grown up healer. And just notice how it feels to be loved. Or feeling what she's feeling. How is she feeling about herself?
Good. She always likes to be loved.
Yeah, it's nice, huh?
Yes.
Just let her feel that feeling of being loved. Just let it in. It's okay to be scared. I have the right to be scared. It's scary. And if you like, you can just step out and see the two of them and again, and just step into being the healer, the grown-up Ashley, and just feel what you'd like to do with her, little Ashley, what she would like from you.
Just to be loved.
Yeah. Just to feel that love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just go ahead and just give her that love. Let yourself feel love for her. She's the beloved one and you're the one who loves her. What do you notice about when you think about the energy in your solar plexus, what's it feel like right now?
Free. Doesn't feel tight and warm.
Mm-hmm. Love is love.
When I was thinking about this and I was doing this and we were talking about like anger or any type of emotion or feeling that you get, a lot of people just want to be pissed off at that one thing. And I think if most people did inner child healing, so much would make sense to them. Like their parenting, their kids, their life, their triggers, everything would just make so much more sense. I know for myself, once I started doing this, it was like, it clicked. I looked at my kids differently. I looked at my husband differently. I was just able to love more doing this work.
Yeah, it's an inside out job. I think when you are able to viscerally feel the love coming in for yourself and really feel what that feels like to feel it, like really, it's one thing to say, love yourself. That's what everybody says, right? It's quite another experience to actually feel that incoming, that real love, and let yourself have it. Because then that's where safety starts. Yeah. And when you feel safe and you feel loved, then you radiate that like you do, Ashley and Locke. You just radiate that feeling of safety and love because you feel it inside of you. And it makes things so different. I'm getting a contact high off your love.
So I know that you and I have worked on this a bunch, and this is one of my favorite things that I've done with you and is crazy, but so cool. Let's talk about enmeshment.
Oh, enmeshment.
Yes.
What is it about enmeshment that you like so much?
Well, how much I get enmeshed with other people, first of all. I mean, I tend to analyze a lot in my mind already, but I become enmeshed with people very often. I have to go back to this place. A lot of the times, if I don't have time to do the enmeshment process, I'll just give them their shit back. Like I'll close my eyes and say, have your shit back. Take your shit back.
I love it. Yeah, because I mean, it goes to that whole projection thing. And, the term codependence means that, what they say, it's always easier to fix somebody else than it is to love take care of somebody else or support somebody else. So we fall into that, and especially for empaths, it's like really, 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 really so common to feel someone else's pain, and, it's like you feel their pain, it almost hurts you, right? It's just like, it does. It almost hurts you. And that means you're getting enmeshed, because their pain is becoming your pain. And then there's that tendency to want to make it better. You want them to feel better. Why do we want them to feel better? Because then we'll feel better. So we want to untangle the enmeshment so that we can be there for ourselves and for other people. Because really, we gotta be present in ourselves, because when we're enmeshed, we're all tangled up in other people's stuff. And the impulse to make them feel better is honorable and loving, because nobody wants to see anybody suffer. But when it starts affecting us and bringing us down, it's like we can't help anybody else if we don't pull the oxygen mask down for ourselves on the airplane. We can't do it. So there's that process where you see the other person and you see them standing across from you in your mind's eye, and you just start feeling the energy between you, and then you can take that process to an inquiry, like, what have I projected onto that person that's not theirs? So it's really good to get that clear space, because it doesn't mean you're not empathizing. You're actually able to empathize with them so much more, because you're not putting your stuff onto them. You're not imagining that they feel a certain way. You're just present, and there's no drama. You're in a clear space to be able to support them and you.
So the podcast is called Trailblazers and Chainbreakers. So I have a question for you based on the name a little bit. How do you want to be remembered for blazing your own trail?
She owned her shit.
That's a good one.
That's a very good one. She owned her own shit. I like that a lot.
How did you get to that point? Is there a story behind that? Or is that just become a personal mantra?
Well, it's been a journey, it's like, the birth journey, except it's been, like for 71 years of a journey of not owning my own shit and then having more suffering. But as soon as I took responsibility or started realizing that I am the dog that's walking into the hall of mirrors, growling and ready for a fight. And I didn't want to, there's just something that just didn't feel right about that. And then, when I got into process coaching, I guess it was 15 or 20 years ago, I started learning that, oh my God, look at what I'm projecting onto everybody else that's my shit. And do I want to continue to do that? Like, I'm getting triggered all the time, and I'm yelling at people and I'm blaming people. Do I really, it feels like crap after I do that. Do I really want to continue feeling that way? Or is there another choice I can make? Is there another choice? Is there a way to not feel like crap about myself? So it was really kind of selfish.
I can totally relate. That's why I asked. As soon as you said it, it resonated with me. But then that little voice, that little imaginary devil on my shoulder said, well, you like that because you're not doing it sometimes. So I want that to be my mantra, but I still struggle with owning my own shit.
Well, how about he aspired to own his own shit.
There you go. There you go.
He worked on owning their own shit.
That's what I'm going to get a new sign, Linda. It's going to be above my desk. It's going to be like, Ashley, own your own shit.
Yep.
What are some of the chains that held you back in the past?
My lack of acceptance for myself. For example, I grew up as an introvert. I've always been an introvert, but I grew up in a family of extroverts. And I felt like shit about that. Like, I should be different. I should be wanting to get out there and make friends. And, like, I should be wanting to be out in the world more and associate with people and go to parties and blah, 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 blah. And that was a chain. It was a belief that there was something wrong with me because I was an introvert. So anytime I've been in that, there's something wrong with me because I'm not another way, it's been a chain.
Yeah.
And so, releasing judgments like what we did, Ashley, there have been so many chains, so many times when I just keep finding more chains. It's just like, I don't know what I'm going to do when there's no more chains.
Will there ever be no more chains?
Will there ever be no more chains? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's how we grow.
So what chains are still holding you back?
Good question. It's a continual excavation of finding places in myself where I believed that I'm not whole and complete. I still have a lot of fear. I'm afraid of death and I'm afraid to die. I mean, my God, Phew. That's a biggie. That's a big chain, man. Whew. I think about not being here for my kids and my grandkids, and it just feels like, what's there? Do I just go out of conscious awareness? I mean, what's going to happen when I don't have a body? That's a chain. That's a big, heavy, life sentence.
Has that always been a chain for you? Do you think that came as you got older?
Yeah, that's a good question. I never thought about dying until my grandma died when I was 8. And I didn't know you died. But she was like the love of my life. She was like the unconditionally loving. She had these big bosoms, and I just used to put my head inside of her chest, and she just used to hold me. And, she was my safety, And she went to the doctor's office one day and never came back. No. She had a heart attack there. And so I just remember being underneath a table. Oh, no, it was a dresser in my parents' room. And I was hiding underneath there because I just couldn't grapple with it. And my 3-year-old brother hunkered down and came underneath there and looked at me with this sort of menacing smile. And he said, "Get over it. You're going to die." I mean, he was my 8-year-old or 11-year-old guru. You are going to die. Everybody dies. You go away and that's it. There is no more. No more, no more, no more. You'll never see her again. Get over it. And, that just started it. It's just like, what? No way. I have to say the death of a loved one never gets easier in my life. There's never a level of acceptance. It always upsets me beyond belief. I think it's wrong. I think it's horrible. I think it's a defect in the script. I would love to rewrite, but it went back to about 8, I think.
You teach a course called Ignite Your Intuition. And I think Ashley said something earlier about how we've been conditioned by society and our parents and everyone around us to kind of ignore and stifle our intuition. Tell us about the class, why it's important, how it helps people ignite their intuition.
Well, so ignite means you fan the flames of what's already there. So there is that belief, of course, that the intuition is always there. So it's just excavating the false beliefs that I'm not intuitive, that everybody else is more intuitive than me. There must be, a million psychics out there that are more psychic than me. I don't have it. I don't have the gift. And it's just getting out from underneath that sort of lack of belief in oneself. I mean, it was really absolutely beautiful to behold anybody that starts that course and ends up recognizing that they have always had it. It's just that conditioning and culture has favored more of the scientific part of the mind and the logic, and just beginning to trust. It's like a class in building trust and learning what's not intuition. Like if you're scared that something bad's going to happen, that's not intuition. So that's good because you found a fear. You found your fear, and that's really good because then you can process that fear. It sounds simple, but I mean, it's actually quite fun. Yeah.
So this has been a great talk, Linda. I want to be respectful of your time. I want to say thank you, first of all.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on our podcast. We appreciate it. How can people find you, and what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, call me or ask Ashley for my phone number, but it's 916-206-0927. And I have a website, and I can link you up to that. Yeah. Thank you for asking. And oh my gosh, thank you for just the pleasure of being here with you guys. I just loved it. Thank you. It's great. Keep breaking those chains. Like, it's for everybody.
Hi, friends. If you're enjoying the show, would you please leave a quick rating or review on Apple Podcasts for us? Doing this helps more people find the podcast, which means even more people can benefit from the conversations. We really appreciate you and your time, and thanks, as always, for listening.